welcome to the Sunday Talk, Alok. Really appreciate, and really excited to have you today here. I'm sure, we are going to uncover a lot of, I would say, hypotheses, a lot of assumptions that is around this entire fintech ecosystem. And before we do that, why don't you, share two words, two lines about yourself, whatever you have been doing, your journey, and what keeps you driving?
Yeah, thanks for this, Sukant and Aditya. It is a pleasure being here today, interacting with you and the rest of the folks. Uh, See, Sukant, Aditya mentioned briefly, right? I mean, my journey started way back in 1998. I joined DCM Data Systems right from my campus.
Mm-hmm.
There we were trying to create, and DCM those days was the only other company than HP who were creating their own machines in India, especially. So we were part of their OS team, creating certain OS related drivers, and the journey started from there. Uh, you know,
Right.
Typically we used to call them as black screen programming those days. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
then with the advent of Windows, uh, things started changing in the industry for applications. The applications which we see today, either on web or on desktop, they started taking up shape. So my next big assignment was on that, wherein we created an enterprise system for an medical transcription process. In those days, in US, the transcriptions were supposed to be transcribed, and there was no speech to text systems or softwares available. So that became a big booming business, wherein the doctors, they used to just record their voice over a transrecorder, and that voice file had to move to various transcription centers around the world, where people overnight would listen to those voice files and type out those voice files in Word, and then send that Word file back to the doctor's office as a print. So there was a printer installed. So next morning, whenever the doctor would come into the office, he would get that printed prescription right there. Okay,
Okay.
so those were the days, those were the kind of
Right.
projects that we executed. From there, I moved to Infosys, a very brief stint in Infosys, where I was part of uh, an ecosystem that was creating uh, certain softwares for, again, fintechs. And
Mm-hmm.
finally, I joined a company called MarketRx, which was taken over by Cognizant. And that's where the data analytics part of my career really took shape. Again, I spent almost 10 years there, uh, doing various projects and creating products for pharma analytics.
Got
Uh,
it.
Again, that journey, I spent a lot of time traveling in US, India, both, and
Nice.
then finally decided to come back to India and serve the nation. I came back and joined Manipal, where the entire fintech journey started. That was way back in 2010. And that was again the advent of the digitization in fintech. It was getting started at that moment of
The
time.
transformation has already
The
started taking
transformation
place. Right.
journey was about to start,
Correct.
the digital journey. So, I mean, we were part of that
Mm-hmm.
ecosystem as it was
Mm-hmm.
getting developed. So there
Yeah.
were a lot of regulatory changes that was happening. There were a lot of technological changes that were happening. So, it was an exciting time in itself, right from a J2ME phone, where you were doing all the um,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, customer acquisitions using a J2ME phone. And then with the advent of Android.
Where we are right now, right? So I think that has been. Sorry, please go ahead. Please
Yeah, I
continue.
know. So, I mean, I'm saying, I'm just trying to give you a glimpse of how the technological changes, along
The
with the
landscape
regulatory
is
changes,
changing. Right.
shaped up the entire fintech ecosystem in India. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then the famous turnaround was around the demonetization days, wherein everything started picking up in a
Correct.
double-engined way, wherein the country was almost like ready for a big leap, and that was the spur moment for that leap to happen.
Correct. Correct.
Okay,
I think
so
I think that was
again,
that final push which was required for that adoption to take place, for that mass adoption to happen.
for that mass adoption, correct. See, any system that you create, unless it is adopted by masses,
Yes.
there is no what should I call? There is no meat in that system to self-sustain.
No, that
So
is
that was the
that
big
is.
impetus that was provided both from the government
Mhm.
as well as from the masses themselves. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, there are several stories that I can recount. I don't know how much we'll be able to cover here, but then those 10, 12 years was fantastic journey in terms of uh,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of solutions you develop and the kind of solutions that you then see getting used in the field. So we today generally associate fintech world with the tier one and the metro cities, but then the real usage of fintech solutions happens in the hinterland. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen myself our systems getting used in villages with the size of 5,000 population.
No, that is
So
true.
where people had to
I think
walk
that's where
around
the
30
magic also
kilometers
happens.
to the
Right.
nearest bank branch. So I
Nice.
mean, again, it has got a very wide spectrum and a very wide usage uh, of what the fintech deals with. I'll be happy to share whatever questions are uh,
Mhm.
put up across to the best
I
of
have
my
a lot of
knowledge.
them,
Yeah.
so, so we'll get it started.
And finally, I would not be doing justice to this talk if I don't talk about the current assignment, the current activity that I'm doing. That
Correct.
is again very exciting. Right now, I'm associated with a company called Trezi,
Mm-hmm.
wherein what we do is we create VR solutions for the architects. And just allow me a moment to explain in
Sure,
a
sure.
layman
We would
term on
love to.
what kind of solutions these are. So imagine, the very word that when you think about an architect, the very first thing that comes to uh, somebody's head is the image of a person who's working on a white big sheet with large scales and trying to come up with something called as a blueprint of a house or a
Mm-hmm.
building that is getting created. And if you look at that blueprint, that blueprint can only be understood by either the architect themselves or the person who
Correct.
will be creating or manufacturing, building that unit for you. As a customer, you just interpret them as uh, some squares and rectangles drawn on a white piece of paper, and somebody telling you that this is where your kitchen would be, this is where you would be sleeping, and this is the outlet from where you will be coming in and going out of the house. The next step in evolution was this blueprint getting evolved in 3D cross sections. I'm sure everybody who has ever been to a real estate agent or seen a brochure that comes across with a real estate agent, they would have seen those 3D uh, snippets of layouts that
Mm-hmm.
this is the cross section of how the house is laid out in a 3D format. The top view would tell you that, okay, here is your kitchen, here is your bedroom, and here is your closet. But then when the thing actually turns up, you feel that what you had been shown and what is delivered to you are
Yeah.
not matching with each
It's
other.
not that there is not that
Yeah, so
alignment, right? So I have a small
yeah,
question.
that alignment is
Yeah. Go ahead, please go ahead, please go ahead.
yeah. So just finishing in another minute or so. So what if there is a solution that allows the customer to have a walkthrough of the home without
Mm-hmm.
the first brick being laid down? What
Mm-hmm.
if I give you the opportunity to walk into that space and feel the actual dimensions of that space without even
Yeah.
that first brick in the field being laid down?
Mm-hmm.
You'll be able to choose which color of your walls would be. You will be able to choose what would be the size of your window, where uh, I mean, if you are a vastu compliant person, then you'll be able to change certain
Right.
structures of your house, look at the sun path, see where the lighting is coming from, change the interiors if you don't like the sofa, the color of the sofa, or certain I'm saying chairs or tables within the interiors. You can go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
procure them from the platform and use them as well. So this is the kind of a comprehensive solution that currently we are providing through Trezi.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of the fintech is that everything and anything that is available there can be purchased using, I mean,
Correct.
not the gamification, but using the real money.
Okay. So this is for this is a B2B product or a B2C product?
So currently, we are a B2B product, but
Yeah.
the B2C journey would be starting pretty soon. We'll be
Got
opening
it.
up the B2C journey pretty soon.
And this is primarily for the architects because I think architects are initially more or less, focused around the construction of the base structure, right? Or is it for the interior designers, right? So who
It is
typically
for both.
it is for
Yeah, it
both.
is for both. It is for, so it is for both architects who can design your system, and then for the interior designers who can put up their products and uh, do a lot of things. So I mean, if you go into that workspace, there are a lot of activities that go behind the scene. There is a lot of collaboration that
Of
happens.
course,
Even
for sure.
even the architects, they
Right.
don't work alone. There are large teams
Correct,
who get
correct.
involved. So how do you do the collaboration? You
Mm-hmm.
can actually collaborate within a product. Let's say if
Mm-hmm.
you and me have to go through a design discussion, we can actually
Right.
get into an immersive environment and discuss that design, having a walkthrough
And I
of
think
that
that
space
is the
together.
future, right? So I think this 2D virtual collaboration is already it's doing really great, right? Now the next step is that immersive collaboration. So is this something which is available over Oculus or the likes of it, or how can someone, like if somebody wants to give it a shot, how can somebody try it out? Or do they need to reach out to your team? How does it
Yes,
work?
of course. Yeah, of course. You need to have the right set of hardware available. Oculus is one of the hardwares. Uh, I mean, we are not married to any specific
Yeah, yeah,
type
it's
of
agnostic.
a 3D device. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, to experience that immersive nature, you need to have either a
Makes sense.
Meta Oculus or an HP Reverb or even the Apple
Mhm.
Pro. So multiple devices can be utilized to have that experience.
Got it. So, Dr. Alok, you mentioned, one thing in the very beginning when you started giving a brief about yourself, that you spent a lot of time, across various countries and various cities globally. And then you decided to move back to India and serve the nation, right? It's a very strong statement in itself, right? This is something that people typically don't think of. And that too, I think that was a couple of around a decade back, right? Then when you moved
Yes,
back.
almost decade and a
Yeah.
half now.
So now people have started thinking because there are good opportunities available in India as well, right? So people see that they can probably do something similar in India as well to what they'll be doing in US or a similar kind of geography. But for you, what made you, being so bullish about India back then when nobody was actually people were actually thinking of, going outside, and that's when you decided to come back, right? So, what made you take that brave decision?
Well, that's not entirely true. I mean, this this realization of India, I mean the global power center moving towards India, it
Mhm.
it started precipitating, about a decade and a half back. I mean, it is not something that has
It
happened
was very
in
early,
the
right?
last
That was
decade.
just an idea.
Yes, of course, so for whatever idea there'll be early takers of that idea,
Correct.
and then
Yeah.
there'll be followers of that idea. So maybe
Correct.
I was the early taker of that idea, wherein being outside the country, you realize that the activities that you are doing, they would make much more meaningful, and will be much more rewarding to both you and your country when you uh,
Correct.
come
Correct.
back. So that was one of the major driving factors.
In terms of the ecosystem, right? In terms of making things happen, uh, what do you feel? Like what has been the biggest difference if we talk about US, and particularly we talk about the Bay Area versus the Bangalore ecosystem. Let's not consider the entire India for the sake of simplicity, right? So if you compare Bangalore to SF, what is that one single thing, like which you think uh, makes uh, SF, differentiate SF, that makes it different?
Well, see, if you ask me personally, uh,
Mm.
it, I mean, today there would be very little difference. Okay, so both in terms of, see, it's all about the kind of infrastructure that you get and the kind of like-minded people that you get. All right,
Mhm.
Bangalore will be housing much more startups than any piece of land on earth today.
Correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, as the saying goes, that if you throw a stone today in Bangalore, probably it will land on top of a startup founder. Yeah.
Right. Correct.
So, I mean, speaking today, I don't think there'll be a lot of difference in either the kind of opportunities that place provides, nor uh, nor the kind of infrastructure. Okay, I'm talking more about the infrastructure required for the
Mhm.
systems to be created, not the infrastructure of the land. All right. I mean, that
Right.
congestion problem, I'm not referring to the traffic congestion problem, but
No,
rest of
let's
the
leave
things,
that
whether it
aside.
is
That's
getting,
okay. That's
yeah,
traffic.
so whether it is getting a resource, whether it is, uh, you know, uh, having cloud space availability, whether it is, setting up the systems in place, or even trying up your newer idea to a pocket of people. Those
Mhm.
activities or those opportunities are equal, if not better than SF in Bangalore. That's
Yep.
what my reading is.
No, no, I think you're pretty bang on. Even, so even when we talk about, or when we work with a lot of our clients, right, our potential customers, entrepreneurs, investors, etc., I think there is a huge mindset difference when we talk about US versus in India. So I was on a 2 month trip to US. I traveled almost all major cities over there. And what I saw, like whenever I was in any cafe or something like that, so the kind of conversation that typically goes along in India is more around, is not that, I would say those are not very moonshot in its sense. Those are typical basic ideas or business plans, etc. But not moonshot projects, right? So no one is. People are not doing a lot of very core engineering stuff. When I say core engineering, deep tech is not something that is happening that much in India compared to what's happening in US. So I think that's the major difference that I see.
Well, yes and no, both. Okay, so See, the answer to it lies in the again kind of ecosystem that can be provided. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about deep tech, of course, the kind of ecosystems that were there in the West and the kind of activities that were happening in that
Mm-hmm.
space in the West, uh, they started much earlier than something of that nature in the
Correct.
country. Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
of course, that gap would always be there. No,
That goes
that
back to 50 years from now versus
yes. So
war would
that
be like what, 20 years old. That
that gap
is,
would
that is
always be there,
30 years
especially
older.
especially in case of deep tech. But if you wanted to talk about fintech
Hmm.
today, we can very proudly say that the Indian fintech
No, that
is
is true.
potentially a decade ahead than
Correct,
our
correct.
West counterparts.
It has, I think India has come, like way ahead from its counterparts, and catching up is not going to be easy.
Yes, of course. And with the UPI now being exposed and available for other countries,
Correct. It's a game changer.
game changer. It's probably something that the cross-border transactions. I don't think apart from the EMVs, there is any other instrument which is available out there in the world
Mhm.
today.
Correct, correct. No, that is true. That is true. No, interesting stuff. And you mentioned, also in the very beginning of our conversation, you mentioned, I think at Infosys, right? So when you were building some products of fintech,
Mhm.
right? So I think it has been almost 2 decades, right, since you are seeing this journey. So, what do you see how the overall fintech space or thinking for fintech has evolved in the last 2 decades? What was the focus area then? And we all know what the focus area is now, but I think it's too crowded right now. But what are your thoughts on that?
See, again, the fintech journey in the country, it started as a services journey. Okay, so I
Mhm.
mean, it did not start as a pure play,
Correct, correct,
product-oriented fintech journey. It started as a back-end office operations or more as a services-oriented
correct. Mostly around
automation.
digitization.
Yeah, digitization of certain I'm saying workflows, which were either related to your back
Hmm.
office automation or some part of the entire play.
Yep.
Uh, so there were a few products that came up like Finacle or
Yep.
others, which started this entire thinking of yes, the Indian products can be worldwide used, and the
Mhm.
quality of theirs are akin with any world standards. So with that said, I mean, cut short to today's world. Today's world, the kind of regulatory requirements which are required in this fintech space are very much relaxed. It is not something which is very tightly coupled. Okay, still there are scope of improvement. Recently we had this Paytm incident. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I actually
but
wanted to
still,
talk about that.
yeah, but still, there are a lot of I'm saying the relaxations and the railroads
Mhm.
have been clearly laid down. Now, once those railroads are in place, then it is up to the individual on what speed he wants to run on those railroads. And on top of it, uh, post 2014, there has
Mhm.
been a drastic change in the government policies as well to
Right.
provide an ecosystem for you know I'm saying more of a upbringing of these fintech players.
Correct. Right. So, but for the likes of, if we look at the Paytm, right? So nobody really knows, and there has been lot of what do you call it, friction from the industry that with the debt, with the, while you kill Paytm, who has been the father of fintech in India, right? So do you think that the players are taking these rules or these regulators for granted at some point of time as well, which is leading to this? So I was recently working while talking about this. So we have one of our clients called Gropitter, right? So these are into agri-tech domain. One of the client in the agri-tech domain, and they got in a problem with SEBI. So they probably flouted or not flouted certain rules around taking investment from the end users, and their entire business is shut now. For it's almost around a month now, their accounts are frozen. So what I also feel that although the regulators in India are very relaxed in a way, the overall compliances are not that tough. But I think somewhere people are taking advantage of that as well.
I'll not term is as people would take advantage of it. I'll keep it at the level that, see, if you're operating in a land, okay, if you're operating in a country, then you have to deal with or imbibe with the laws of the land.
Correct,
So
absolutely.
you're not above the law.
No
Yeah.
one
So
is.
yeah.
Right.
So if there are regulations in place, till the time those regulations are not relaxed, you have to comply with them. Yeah.
Makes
So
sense.
and I would leave this discussion at that point. No, otherwise it becomes a lot of controversial statements. I would not want to delve more on it. But yes, till the time the laws do not change, the compliance of these laws becomes an individual or an organizational. Uh, I'm saying
Correct.
more of a their. I mean, the accountability for it lies on their shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
So
Correct. No, no,
that
that
has
is
to.
absolutely true. Yeah. Okay. So we'll talk. I think we have spoken a lot around fintech. We'll talk more around, building the team, building culture, and how do you build a team, like who is driven towards a purpose. So I've also seen a lot of folks, when I say folks, these are mostly entrepreneurs who have just started their journey, series A, series B round for them, right? And these guys are typically, everyone wants to hire people, hire a team, build a team who are very passionate about the goal, or about your vision, your mission. But it gets extremely difficult to find people who are completely aligned with what you are doing. You end up you end up hiring people who are able to convince you that they are driven towards it, even if they are not, right? So what are your thoughts on it when you are, so you have uh, been part of huge conglomerates, enterprises, startups, right? So what is that mantra, hiring mantra that you typically follow?
Yeah, see, again, it differs from at what level you are hiring. Yeah, so let's talk about that from the team level. So if you are, let's say, hiring in a startup for a
Mm-hmm.
team,
Mm-hmm.
then apart from the skills, the only thing that you should be looking forward for is the flexibility of that person to
Mm.
adapt to changes.
Correct.
I've come across a lot of young people who say that no, I would not touch the back end or I would not touch the front end. No, I would only work in Android. I will not, or I would only work or take up projects in iOS. No,
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
see, today's world is not that. Today, all these activities in, let's say, in time to come, would be easily replaced by your friend chat GPTs of the world. Yeah. So, and the only factor that can be self-sustaining for such people is their flexibility to take up newer things, newer ideas, and
Yeah.
deliver value for those ideas.
Correct. No,
So,
absolutely true.
so from a team perspective, if you can identify and get people with this mindset, then I'm saying 90% of the job is done
Yeah,
at the
that's the
higher level.
toughest part.
Yeah. So again, there are. So we'll talk about the how part of it in a bit.
Yeah,
Uh, but then let me, complete it for the next level, which is the leadership level.
yep,
So at a leadership, I believe that it is an important decision, or the influence of the founders, the
mm,
personality of the founders, that dictates what kind of team you want to bring in. Now, if you want to have a yes man team, then
right.
of course,
Yep.
you would be getting into that swirl of people convincing you, or you getting convinced with the kind of passion that you want within your team,
Mm,
and whatnots. But if as a founder, your focus is to get people who can really add value, to your shortcomings. So those should be the focus areas, and you should be ready to adapt and listen to rebuttals coming from
correct.
your senior leadership within the organization. So
Mm.
it all depends upon the founder mindset.
No,
There are, in fact, no, I had been coaching several founders themselves in order to solve this problem at the top. So there are certain psychometric tests which are available, which you can undertake for your leadership as well as for your team, to find in whether they are gelling in as a culture, whether they are gelling in as a mindset, whether that passion you were talking about, they would carry for long. If not, what it provides you is the areas where you need to work with an individual.
mm-hmm.
There'll be no single solution that would fit all the places. No,
Correct.
so hiring a team and maintaining a team is a very individualistic job. So the kind of team that I have for my organization will not be an adequate for your
Right,
organization.
right, right, right.
Yeah, the
It
kind of
customizes
fundamentals,
it
the
all,
kind of
correct.
mindset, it would be different for each organization. But the important point here to note is that we should be aware of each other's strong points and the weaker points. And if as a team we are we are all agreeing to work on uh, the weaker points and move towards success, that is what will define or differentiate you from your competition.
Correct.
So there are tools. In fact, I have created several models which have been tried and tested in this space as well. So several of the startups that I have mentored have been subjected to these tests and evaluations, and they
Okay.
have yielded good results.
Mm-hmm. Got it. That's nice. So basically, what you're suggesting, like going through all those, taking some psychometric tests, some kind of identifying ways to see, like if in a way you're vibing with your team or not, or the team is vibing with you or not.
Yes, so that is one. The other is the coaching of the mentors or the founders themselves.
Yeah.
So see, if I am a founder and my motive is to be surrounded by people who just tom my line,
Mm-hmm.
then the kind of results that I'll get are very different. So
Correct.
as a founder, you also need to be coached. You also need to be told and be molded in order to accept few things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that becomes an inadvertent part uh, of that startup mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
Once that is in place, then checking or realizing what are the various strategies strengths and the shortcomings of the team would be a good thing to be available for making informed decisions. Yeah, so if somebody
Yeah.
has to be trained in certain aspects, or if you feel that as a team, there is no strategic thinker amongst the team, then getting a strategic thinker from outside or bringing in somebody who can add
Someone who
that
is
kind of a value
unbiased and who
would
is
help.
neutral, right? Like who is not coming with a baggage. So things to
Yes,
have in mind, right? So
yes,
yeah,
of course. So those kind of things they come to the fore when you are subjected to
yeah.
such kind of evaluations.
No, makes a lot of sense. Also, one more thing, that I typically observe is in India, there is a lot of apprehension. So people really don't understand the concept of leapfrogging, right? So sometimes you need to take certain decision and they get too obsessed with doing everything on their own, which means, the reinventing the wheel. And which is not the case in US. For instance, if not just US, if you look at any of the developed economies, their main goal is getting things done, right? So one of our again, like one of our client, it's a huge banking client based out of US, right? And again, one of our startups as well. So again, based out of US. So these guys are more around, getting things done. Their approach is more on getting things done. They are more focused towards the output versus how you get that done. In India, I think there is some kind of obsession about the how part as well. That I have to get there, but I have to get it done in a certain way. And do you think, is this good? Is this bad? Or does it really matter?
Well, it is part of our culture, So if you look at what
Mhm.
makes India unique, India is a different culture altogether,
Yeah,
and that plays a very important role in your businesses, how you operate businesses as well. There are so many stories about the Indian founders doing things which would be a taboo in the West.
correct. No, that
Yeah.
is, yeah.
So so I mean, again, that is a resounding aspect of our culture. So yes, again, as I mentioned earlier, that there are certain aspects of the founder that he has to be coached upon. Yeah.
Hmm.
So this is that shift that a person has to bring in his mindset if he
Hmm.
wants to really succeed and succeed quickly.
Right.
So being a perfectionist is fine. Being obsessed with your way of working is fine, but then you need to realize that no, you are not working as a standalone organization.
Correct.
Tomorrow, the evolution of a founder has to be somebody like what Mr. Narayan Murthy did. I mean,
Mhm.
he brought the organization to a scale, and then he moved into a very mentorship and a
Correct.
different role altogether, not really partaking in the day-to-day activities. So as long as you are able to set down the right processes within the organization at an early stage and flow that culture of accountability, trust, and deliverance, I think the founder's job is done. He,
Yeah,
it is
right.
more of, I
I think
mean,
I think the I think the biggest, and which I very strongly believe in, the job of a leader is to make themselves irrelevant.
precisely, yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
As long as your business, your team cannot function without you, then it means that you haven't built the right team, you haven't built the right processes.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's how you grow. I mean, see, from a 0 to 10 journey, that you can do alone. From a
Correct.
10 to 100, you can do with a team without the processes. But from 100 to
Hmm.
1000 or 10 or beyond, you need to have a good team and great processes.
Correct. No, that is true. That is true. You need to have playbook for everything, right? So
Yeah.
that's the reason, like enterprises are, they have such bureaucratic processes at time, but I think they need it. If they don't have it, everything is going to fall like house of cards. They need to have those SOPs, they need to have certain processes, certain protocols, right?
Yeah, whatever works for them, as long as they are mindful of
Yeah.
that certain processes are working, and they
Hmm.
are continually evaluating those processes, making changes to them, that should be all right.
Yep. Yep. Right. So I think I have two more topic to dive into with you, and then that will be all. So I would first talk. I want to understand more about your perspective, since you have been since '98. You have been part of the ecosystem, right? I think this is the third inflation or third down market that you have been observing, right? Dot-com bubble burst, then Lehman Brothers, and now the current one, COVID one, then the current one. So, what is one thing that you have observed, which makes you resilient and to overcome through these challenges? Funding is dried up, people not able to raise money, right? Everyone is talking about profitability.
See, all these are cyclic in nature. Okay,
So that
so
is true.
good
That is
times don't last, so do the bad times. Okay,
right.
so I mean, at the end of the day, you have to be just brave enough and you know, brave out such phases.
Hmm.
There is no golden bullet here that I can tell you that okay, this is going to be the savior bullet, or this is going to be the savior approach.
Correct. No, makes
Yeah.
sense.
So I mean,
My
it all
question
just
was more around, like what kind of companies or what kind of entrepreneurs you saw that thrived and lived, and the one who, collapsed or failed.
yeah, okay. So see the businesses that have a strong value proposition in the market. Yeah, so I mean, it is not something that you are only in the market to attract valuation. If the business principle are sound enough, if you are doing certain things which your consumers and your customers are finding value in, then
Mm-hmm.
those are the businesses that will definitely survive. They will not only just survive, they will come up with flying colors also.
Correct.
Because every such opportunity or every such incident gives an opportunity to revamp and come up with newer innovations.
No, that is true. Agreed.
So,
Totally agree on that.
so businesses which are focused upon the right set of principles
Mm-hmm.
of adding and driving value to their end consumers, those are the ones which will definitely last long and uh, turn the game on its head. The
They're doing
others
this for the right reasons. Yeah.
which are there only driven by the sight of getting
But short
valuation,
term, right. They're looking at
then
short term games and it
yeah,
gets.
so those are the riskier ones.
Makes sense. Fair enough. Sounds good. Okay, moving to the last one, Dr. Alok. I know you must be running out of time since already four. So yeah, so the last one, uh, there are a lot of folks who are at the like at the mid senior level in their engineering career, right? And they literally don't know like what should they do to uh, drive up the career ladder, right? To I think you're on mute. So if you're speaking something, you're on mute. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry. Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
So yeah, I was saying so there are a lot of folks who are very confused. They really don't know like what to do, what should I do next, how can I grow more in my career, how can I become a VP, a head, or a CTO, right? I am a lead engineer. How do I grow from lead to an EM or from EM to something else? Is this just people management? Do I need to improve my skills? Is this more of a personality thing? So people really don't know, like what does it take to be at top of of a function in or top of the department in any company. So what are your like 2 cents for those guys who have those questions, who want to step up in their career but are kind of stuck, uh, how to get it done?
So, see, Sukant, again, there is no direct answer to it. Okay, so first and foremost, an individual will have to define his goal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's say if my goal is to become a CTO, no, then I will have to chalk down a path of whatever is required to become a CTO.
Correct.
If I want to become a CEO, then I will have to imbibe newer skills so as
Correct.
to become a CEO. So the very first thing that comes is you need to have a definitive goal defined.
Mm-hmm.
Now, post that, you have to break that goal into some smaller milestones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, for example, if you want to move on to the uh, technical journey, yeah,
Correct.
so of let's say becoming a CTO, then there is a path which is laid down. No, that path
Mhm.
is available to you. Now, the questions you need to ask is whether you are skilled enough or you
Right.
are or you have
Wanting to
been
be
given enough
something, right?
opportunities to move on. Is more often goal identification and then getting the required help in order to
Mm-hmm.
move towards your goal. One
Right.
thing that I can definitely add is that uh, a career is a career that spans at least 3 to 4 decades. It is not something that would be a 4 or a 5 year thing. Okay, and of course, unless you are jumping, I mean, if you want to create a career out of a job and not via an entrepreneurial journey, then of course, you'll have to invest that much time at your job to achieve certain things or achieve certain designations.
Right.
Yeah. So there are no shortcuts which are available.
You have to
So you'll
spend
have to
time.
really,
You have to get really
drive
good at
hard,
what you do.
get into the trenches and uh, do the work which is really required.
Yep. Makes sense. Lastly, if anybody wants to work at Trezi, what do you look at? And are you guys hiring right now? Are you guys looking to onboard few folks? And how can they reach out to you if they want to work at Trezi?
Yeah, of course, go to Trezi.com. There is a career option. We keep on posting our career needs there. Uh, just fill up, look at those sections, and
Mm-hmm.
just write to us. It is as simple and easy.
Awesome. So, guys, you have this with you. And with this, I think we'll just wrap up, Dr. Alok. And thank you so much
Thank you
again
so much, Sukant.
for the
Yeah,
time.
thanks.
Really appreciate. I personally had a lot of fun, and it was quite insightful. It was quite an eye opener for me as well.
Thank you. Yeah,